Mic'd up.
Hear me?
I can hear you. I just can't see you.
You can't. Oh, there we go.
There you are.
We're good.
That was easy.
Yeah. That was good.
Well, we are recording and we're going.
Awesome. How
So
are you? You look like you're in a really nice loungy place.
I am actually. I'm at our community center front porch, and the beautiful thing about this app is that you could do the podcast from anywhere.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right? And you don't need much technology, and I don't have to be sitting behind my computer, and I can
Right.
do it on my phone. And that's the thing I love about this. And there's
And
so many great features.
it's got great quality too.
It does. That's shocking.
Yeah.
It's shocking and it's great. And this is a new app that's just released to the market. And thank you
Wow.
so much for being flexible and playing
Yeah.
along with me and being professional. And
No.
so I knew we'd figure it out.
I like
So
playing with technology.
this is a good one too. I've seen them all, and this is a great one. So, the two gentlemen that have developed it. I assume that they're listening right now, and I told them I test it out, and I'm going to see how this goes with our 5% Club as a platform that we'll use. And I don't think, how's this for a segue? I don't think anybody epitomizes what the 5% Club means, and you're kind of right out of the gate. So this is season 1, episode 1, and Angela, and you're the kind of the lead off on this. So no pressure, by the way. There's no pressure on
Okay.
this. So
Okay.
um, we have some questions that people have who have kind of put in already. So during these segments, they could ask questions before and during as well, and I'll try to read off some to you. But I have my own questions. Um,
Awesome.
but but before we do that, the 5% Club is a celebration of those who committed blood, sweat, and tears and sacrificed everything to play college athletics. Is 5% out of the 8 million that come out every year of high school, and we are
Yeah.
the survivors that had the persistence, the guts, the grit, and kind of worked around all those odds to get there. So congratulations, welcome to the
Thank you.
club.
Thank you.
So
I needed your reminder. Your reminder came at such a perfect time in my life. So I love it.
awesome. Awesome. It was for me too. This is like self therapy, believe me. Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, you forget when you become older. It's like, what are these things in your life that you remember that you're great at? Because you have so many challenges, right? With life and kids and family
Yep.
and marriages
Yep.
and
Yep.
businesses and startups. And it's like, man, I feel like I've had so many losses and you forgot about the wins and playing college athletics is a great foundation. So let's start there.
Okay.
Let's I'm going to flip this over to you. I want you to tell your story and really about what you went through as a college athlete and the foundation that it built for the rest of your life. So the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, I would say that, and something that I didn't realize when I was going through college sports is that you have a job, you have a responsibility. At least at UNC, we were also taught that we represent the school because we're traveling and seeing other teams and we're out in the public space. So it really was a job. And when I got into the real world, I realized, oh, this is like juggling family and career. It's the same thing. So I would say that that was the best training ground, and it's the one thing that I wish. I don't know that my girls will play sports in college, but that's the one thing that I wish that they would get somehow is that trial run of what it's like to juggle multiple things in your life. I'm trying to think of other challenges. I mean,
Well, talk about you played at two different colleges. You went to Arizona first, and then you transferred to UNC.
yes.
And that happens quite often. That's before the portal, so you had to you had to go through all of that. Talk about that experience.
Very timely because UNC just won the NCAA's women's championship, which in my era, we were nowhere close. Like girlfriends of mine that we played in that era just go UNC and NC State. Like this is a whole different. It hasn't carried over. The teams that were at the top back when I played are definitely not at the top now. All right, so very timely. I went to UNC, loved the school, loved the ambiance. I actually went because there was a friend of mine who played on the team already, and so I was kind of recruited into that. But when I got to the school, it wasn't like I still wanted to play pro, and I wasn't getting trained or kind of groomed in that direction. They were very much into academics. I sort of wasn't, but I didn't feel like a good fit. I was clashing with the coach on many issues, and so well, I was clashing with the coach because she was a lot older. I want to say she was in her late 70s, and the tennis program was getting a lot of funding. Their new indoor facility had just been built. It was fantastic. Anyway, so I went to the athletic director and I gave them my concerns of like with the issues that I had and where I wanted to go versus where it seemed like I was getting pulled. And okay, I'm going to say this today, but the athletic director said to me, I quote, "We're not really interested in women's sports. Whatever they do is just icing on the cake. We're here for the men's sports." And I remember I am not at the right place. I need to go. And then I started, with the help of other people, I ended up transferring to Arizona. And one of the things that why I chose Arizona was because the interim's athletic director was a woman. And I thought, this is where I need to be. And they happened to have a scholarship mid-year, so I transferred. It was a very difficult thing because my heart was really at UNC, but my tennis was at Arizona. And I definitely don't regret it. I mean, that year that I transferred, we ended up being four in the country, and we're in the semifinals of the NCAAs. An amazing team. Boy, that was one lesson that I learned was when you're on a team that clicks, there's a lot of like things that make it click that you kind of can't put your finger on, but I got to live it, and I'm good at like picking patterns and looking at things that worked. And that team that gave me some insight as to how to make teams work, which in real life or in work life, that's imperative for projects and everything.
So talk about that. Talk about that transition then. So you're done playing. You had a great career. Afterwards, what happened, and then how did you transition into your entrepreneurial lifestyle and your life and your launching of your product? And what was that transition like for you?
It was a long one because when I got out of college from playing tennis, so I played on the circuit for 1 year. I gave myself 1 year to break into the top 100, and if that didn't happen, I was going to stop, which I did. I broke into like the top 300 in doubles, and so that wasn't going to cut the mustard. So I went into working in marketing, and the crazy story is that I wanted to work in the film industry, but still, I was living in Florida at the time. I sent out my resume to a bunch of different firms, like trying to get into production. But at the time in Florida, if you didn't have experience in California, you weren't going to get hired like fresh out of the gate. So I end up deciding, fine, I'm going to go play tennis in Europe. I'm going to travel. About 6 months later, I get a call from this company who says, "We want you to come work for us." And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to Europe." And then they said, "Well, no, we really want you." Long story short, my salary tripled between the time that we started to when I got hired. And the reason why I got hired is because they had bid a company that everyone on the board played tennis. And the owner of my company dropped my name thinking that it wouldn't do anything, and everyone on the board knew who I was. So I got hired as a way of trying to get the business. And once I got my foot in the door, I realized, so it was a boutique PR firm. And I realized that if I didn't make myself useful, if I didn't learn the skills, I couldn't just sit there and not know anything. So I very quickly learned how to code, Photoshop, Illustrator, like everything. It was the most amazing experience because it was like getting paid to learn all these things I would have gone to design school for. And I took to designing. I mean, it's the world that I really wanted to be in. And from there on, I went to other companies, and then I still wanted to come to work in the film industry. So I moved to Los Angeles, and I don't know, even like throughout all that, because I worked at various different companies, I had all these ideas for stuff that I wanted to do on my own. And although I'd like to play different roles and do different things, I just felt like when you work for someone, you get put into a niche. And so I needed to start something on my own. And I've been freelancing for like the past 25 years, and I like it much, much better than working at a company. So then when I moved out to Los Angeles, I ended up working in the film industry. And then I finally ran my own kids' clothing line, which sadly came to a halt when I had my kids, which I thought would never happen because I had that is my first child, really. That clothing line was my first child. When I put it away, I cried. And then I had my kids, and now I'm restarting. I went through having the kids, marriage, divorce, finally on my own. Now I've got all this experience and all this knowledge, and now I'm putting it to good use.
You're restarting, right? Just this little start over. And if you don't mind, let me read a question because I think this is relevant and it's a good segue. So this is from BKC. He talks about, and I'll summarize this, that if you're going to hire somebody
Mm-hmm.
and you have two different applicants of equal experience and skills, and one was a woman that played college athletics, and the other man was a man who didn't play college athletics. In his experience, he always leaned towards hiring the woman former college athlete.
Yeah.
And in your experience, and he's just curious about your thoughts about this, why do you think that's the case? And what are the characteristics and traits of former college female athletes that just rise above everybody else in their effort and their skill level and their determination? What are those things that you find?
This I have been more attentive to lately is man or woman, if you were an athlete, you can take constructive criticism. You've been coached by the time you were probably being coached before you were walking. And so constructive criticism is not something that kills you. It's actually something that you like. With me and my clients, I always tell them, I can design stuff to get to where you want when you tell me what you don't want. So please feel free to tell me what you like, what you don't like, because it gets us closer to the target. That's the first thing. I mean, of course, there's all the obvious, the discipline, the constant, the mindset. The other thing that I have found over the years, it's imperative and very different athlete to non-athlete is we're used to doing a recap after we do something, performance or whatever, and you evaluate yourself, you look at statistics, you do all that stuff, and you know where to tweak, where to improve, how to get better. That doesn't happen in the in outside world. I mean, there's no other forum for that to really take practice. And now today in technology, what we were doing our entire lives is analytics. And people are very like they don't like that word. It's very techy and whatever, but analytics is just looking at your stats and then evaluating. And I love analytics. As much as I'm a designer and a creative, I love looking at the numbers. And what I tell my clients today is social media is all about analytics. You're going to put something out and then we're going to tweak it. And then we're going to see if it works. Time of the day, font that you used, image that you used, all those little things. And if a client is flexible and can roll with it, then you can start tweaking, getting closer and closer to where you want to go. And that's something that I think the non-athletic mind doesn't get. Maybe the techie mind, but now if you've got an athlete who's a creative, you've got the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's true. And I've also found that former student athlete, female student athletes, there's a little extra engine in them, right? That they're almost like the ultimate walk-on, right?
Yeah.
Even if they're a scholarship athlete, depending on the sport, but for the most part, they always have something to prove. And in my experience of working with former female college athletes, is that they're super organized with their time,
Yeah.
and right, and they're very linear thinkers in a lot of ways. And even if they're creative like you are, there's still that linear kind of get stuff done, taskmaster, on top of things. They're so that is what I found from working with the former student athletes that were females, and especially on the college level. There's just a different engine in them, and a different fight.
Yeah, there is a different fight. We definitely have always had to prove ourselves because as athletes, you know, men are always stronger, faster, and so we're always trying to prove ourselves in that realm for sure. And I think the other we're big problem solvers. And yeah, and of course, and this goes back to if you were juggling your academics and your athletics, then you're juggling motherhood and your career, and so it's something that you've been doing since you were a teen.
Amen. How about if you were to go back in time, I asked this question to every single podcast guest I've had in the last 7 years.
Okay.
If you had to go back in time, if you had to go
Mhm.
back to when you were 19, 20 years old, and everything that you know now about life, what advice would you have given to that 19-year-old Angela? And, what are the things that you know now that you wish you knew back then?
Can we swear on here?
Yes, this is our show, damn it.
Don't like just do what you want to do. I really highly regret um, caring so much about other people's opinions. And I'm trying to teach that to my daughter now because something that from sports, you train and you work really hard. But the minute you step on the court, get on the block, whatever it may be, you have to not give a shit and you have to just flow. That's something that most athletes do really well, but I don't think that everyone really grasps that fully. And what I wish is that the difference is that in life, there is no official starting block. There is no official court. You're always like in and out of where you have to prove yourself. And I wish I would have kind of identified that a little bit more and done my own thing. Then again, if I would have done my own thing, I probably would not have been playing tennis. I probably, like Annie Leibovitz, would have grabbed a camera and gone, lived in a kibbutz and gone, or I would have gone on tour with a band and I would have photographed. I wanted to, but then, that's a whole left turn in a whole other direction. And I think it's now that I really value the fact that sports made me linear and organized and focused and goal oriented and goal setting and all that. So.
I wish I bought real estate earlier on. Yeah, rental properties. Yeah,
Well, that I advise my parents to do, and I have a really, for some reason, I can go into a city and I can pick the areas where I see that they're going to get developed,
yeah.
and I've been on like right on. Yeah, no, yeah, that's a good one.
There's so many things are changing right now, and so I have just a bonus question for you, I guess. And what do you want to see out of this group, this new community that we're developing, and finding that there's so many different college athletes now that are transitioning NIL, and where we are and this community that is this 5% club. Where do you see this whole community going, and what do you see happening in this space?
So one of the got onto Facebook was because when I became a parent, I had no one else in my surroundings that understood parenting from this perspective of an athlete. I felt like I always had a little bit of a higher standard. I expected a little bit more from my kids. I was envisioning where they would be at college or high school. I was like, trying to figure out who they were and then seeing their future, whereas most people were just not doing that. And once I connected with all my fellow athletes from around the world, um, I had a I had a purpose with a team. And I think that's what I would love to see this in every aspect, from motherhood, fatherhood, to launching your own business, to being an amazing team player and a leader in business. I think, and then also, there's a lot of us that come out of bad marriages or bad situations and we're starting over, I guess, for both men and women, and what that means about redefining yourself. Because me at 51, like, I know I don't see myself as 51 and I feel like I still have a lot more to go. And part of that is my nutrition, my exercise, all that stuff that the average person isn't really into. I was listening to an interview with Tim Ferriss saying how someone asked him if he was annoying to other people around him. And he said, well, if I'm around other people with my same mindset, I'm not. We just empower one another. And that's exactly what I hope this becomes.
I love it. How do people get a hold of you?
You can go to my website, which is Bien Hecho, which means well made in Spanish, Bien Hecho Creative. Um, or let's see, on Instagram.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. It's all Angela Ferdig. I'm same name all over social media, so you can reach me any of those ways.
Wonderful. Well, season one, episode number one, Angela. It began here. We'll always have this moment together.
That's awesome. That's great. Thank
Well,
you.
on this wonderful new app. So if anybody wanted to use it, if you're into podcasting or content creating,
Yeah.
mic'd up. It's on the App Store. It's super easy to use. It's just hit the market right now with
Really?
two talented, super talented guys behind it. Actually, there's three behind this startup. So yeah, it's an amazing thing. And how you find out more information about the 5% Club is myconnectsports.com. I'm Rob. That's Angela. Everybody have a wonderful day. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you
Thanks
later.
for having me, Rob. Thank you.
You bet.